this story is guaranteed to give you the Willies.
The Willies is a 1990 horror comedy anthology film directed by real-life piece of shit Brian Peck. The film stars Sean Astin, James Karen, Michael Bauer, and some fun cameos. The film is split up into two segments. The first being about a young bullied boy discovering a monster living in the school's bathroom, which gives him a perfect in for some spooky revenge.
There's a monster in the bathroom, I saw it!
Which kind of makes sense when you realize the first segment was a short film shot by the human trash pile Brian Peck years earlier in 1985. Which is why old Ben Seaver's kinda young, another strange cameo. But it has a pretty cool payoff and some standout effects. Up next we get the sad tale of Donkey Lips. Gordy Belcher.
That thing came apart.
A fly-obsessed, overweight outsider who takes his obsession to the ultimate limit with the help of a maniacal farmer. This is definitely my favorite of the bunch. It's an obvious spike in quality compared to the first, as far as pacing and story goes. This feels like it could have been on Tales from the Crypt or something, definitely having a classic EC Comics feel to it. Here we actually get a pretty good performance from Donkey Lips. Michael Bauer as Gordy Belcher. Really fitting the role just perfectly. A kid you'd feel horrible for, but just can't really like too much either. Yeah, you know that guy. We all do. This is indeed a weird one. Most anthology movies have at least 3 main segments. This one we only get 2. And there's usually some kind of theme. I guess here we get a theme of bullied kids getting into some shit. Not much information is available on this film. I could not find one person involved who spoke about it on record. And it wasn't until looking a little deeper I kinda came up with the theory as of why. As mentioned before, this movie was directed by actual scum Brian Peck, who was charged with 11 counts including lewd acts upon a child, and some other stuff. It just gets worse from there. In the end, he pleaded no contest to 2 counts, and the court found him guilty of both. The remaining counts were dismissed, but Peck was convicted in October 2004 and sentenced to 16 months in jail. But after completing his sentence, returned to Hollywood and resumed his work as an actor and dialogue coach, sometimes on shows with kids. Now I only mention this because, well, everyone should know, and also I found it very odd how this movie was made using seemingly every connection Peck had made in the industry. You see, he had been acting in films for years, his first being the teen sex comedy remake from Canon, The Last American Virgin, starring Willies' co-star Kimmy Robertson, and most notably as Scuzz in Return of the Living Dead with Willies' co-star James Karen. And Peck also had a role in the sequel with Willies' co-star Dana Ashbrook, a movie which also had a cameo from comedian Doug Benson, again playing a zombie. And Peck even showed up in part 3, so that explains why he was able to get these crazy cameos. But what's up with these Growing Pains connections? As far as I could find, there's no similar producers and such, but this movie has 4 cast members: Ben, Mike, his wife Kate, and sister Carol Seaver, in a low-budget horror movie. What the hell? Even the other kids in the tent are in multiple episodes of Growing Pains. Even Peck was on a good amount of Growing Pains episodes, where I'm sure he sparked up some great friendships with the cast, because why else would they agree to be in this movie? I have no idea, but this was definitely Peck's first foray into TV work, where he would eventually thrive and become a human monster.
Leo, as you know, is the latest, hottest, hunkiest teen idol there is.
Yeah, muscles.
Look, speaking of hunky, huh?
I highly recommend you watch the film An Open Secret to learn more about Peck's exploits. I just find it odd and honestly hilarious that someone like Kirk Cameron is involved with a movie like this. Clearly, having Cameron on his side culminated in a Growing Pains crossover into a horror film, as his close, personal friendship with Cameron resulted in hands down the best cameo in horror movie history.
Mike, you disgust me. Sometimes I'm surprised we're related.
Well, Carol, I think you're old enough to know. We're not. You're adopted.
Either way, you're still a pig.
Carol, relax. These flies aren't for me. They're for Gordy Belcher.
Isn't that crazy? That was shot on the Growing Pains set. Laugh tracks and all. Insane. What would Jesus think, Kirk? Come on, man.